Welcome back to the 127 Fit podcast. Today's guest is the head strength coach for the Beijing Royal Fighters. Today's guest is Ryan Kannegieter. Ryan, I want to welcome you to the 127 Fit podcast.
Awesome, Quinn. Appreciate you having me on. Excited to chat with you.
For sure, Ryan. So we kind of already had probably a solid 20-minute conversation before we turned on the mic. So we're just going to dive right into things. I've got 4 questions that I like to call the conversational warm-up questions just to kind of get things going. The first question, Ryan, I have for you is, how do you start your day? Do you have a specific morning routine or morning ritual you like to stick to on most mornings?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, reading all these things, a lot of these high-performing, successful people have those things. And with my lifestyle, especially these last couple months, traveling a lot, being in different hotels, and it gets hard. So I try to trim the fat, and I try to have a morning routine that I can literally do anywhere, anytime, which is really nice for me, especially traveling a lot. So
yeah.
Usually this is my routine, obviously not all the time, but usually after I wake up, try to get some coffee, some sort of caffeine, get the brain going, that sort of stuff. And then a couple of my necessaries, like I have to do every day, is vision and breathing. So I almost always start off my day with about 5 to 10 minutes of vision drills, 5 to 10 minutes of breathing drills, and then maybe 5 to 10 minutes of moving if I have time, if I have the opportunity, kind of like body weight, yoga-esque sort of things,
Okay, cool.
And then just depends on where I'm at too. Other things like Juve Light, gratitude journal, reading, just depends, all that sort of stuff. So I'm taking a walk in the beautiful Colorado weather when it is beautiful. So yeah.
Cool. Now, I wanna touch on kind of this vision training. What does that kind of look like practically, or the nuts and bolts of that for you, Ryan? And then why do you do that vision training to start your day? Why is it such an important, integral part of your morning routine wherever you're at?
So I've gotten into this neurology-based sports performance, neurology, fit, whatever you want to call it, applied neuro, whatever. And I realize how much we don't focus on our eyes, and we don't specifically do drills for our eyes, which from everything I've learned about neurology, like 30, 40, whatever, a lot of percentage of your brain space is designated for your eyes.
Okay.
So when you specifically do vision drills, it upregulates your CNN, your brain, and gets your brain rocking and rolling. So that's mainly the number one thing.
So what do you so what do you specifically, or what are you focusing on when you're doing this vision practice?
So there's a bunch of different drills, I guess, you can do. There's some called a smooth pursuit, where you hold something and you literally just try to move your eyes and nothing else in different positions. There's convergence and divergence, bringing your eyes in and out and making sure that's fluid and smooth and both eyes are working together.
Yeah.
There's something called a saccade or saccade, where it's you do eye switches, you find the target and switch, and you can do it all over the place.
Okay.
And then it can the sky's the limit on the variability. You can get in sports performance positions, you can get in a single leg position, you can get in a squat, it's really cool, really gives you a lot of variability in your training.
And I'm assuming, since you have continued to incorporate this vision training into your morning routine, you must have at some point, or continue to see some sort of progress, maybe with your own brain function or memory. What have you again practically seen benefit wise from this training for yourself personally?
Yeah. For myself, my movement in my body just feels amazing relatively, just with all this neurology, vision training, that sort of stuff. But there's so much cool research now on vision and how that impacts your emotion and how you see the world. It's basically your perception. So a lot of times if your eyes aren't working properly, you have a skewed or not skewed, a different perception of the world. So it gets very, very interesting when you dig into all that science on perception, reality. And it upregulates like a lot of your brain, so your pathways are working more optimally.
Okay. And we're gonna. That's something I had. We're gonna get into that more in depth because I'm fascinated by that, and that's something I actually have written down as I prepared to have our conversation. But let's work our way through the warm up questions, and then at some point we will definitely come back to that more specifically. So Ryan, the next question I have for you: favorite book or book that you like to gift often?
So, listening to a lot of your podcasts, a lot of people have these very strong personal development, life-changing books, and I've read quite a few of those, and I love them, and those books are very awesome. But my favorite book is this book called Shantaram.
Okay.
Have you heard of it?
I have not.
It's an amazing read. It's this crazy story about a guy. It's a real story, true story about a guy who was from New Zealand or Australia, and he basically escaped prison and started living in India.
Okay.
And the story there is just me living all over the world and all that sort of stuff. It's just so crazy and interesting living in other places in the world that are 180 degrees from here in America. So it was just a very cool, very kind of inspiring book for me. And I've only gifted that to one person, but that's my favorite book.
Okay, now I understand you have like a relatability because of like the travel and stuff, which you just mentioned. But is there maybe like one lesson or takeaway from that book that's really profoundly impacted you?
How amazing people are, like throughout the world. Like honestly, man, that's one of the things I love about this world is relating to other people from other walks of life that could have a completely different viewpoint of you and why they do what they do, but they still have love in them. They still have kindness in them. It's very powerful to me. It's very powerful to me, and seeing that guy's journey and all that, the love and all that sort of stuff. So that kind of was the biggest thing.
Okay, cool.
From that book.
Beautiful. All right.
That makes sense.
for sure, man. And we're going to get into that a little bit more too, because I mean, just like you said, your world travels and you're a strength and conditioning coach over in China, which that's, when you're in America, man, you get all kinds of interesting information in terms of like China. So we'll get into that, a little bit later too. But for sure, dude, like even myself, like I've never been outside of the United States. But like we talked about earlier, like I spent a lot of time in my 20s, working with Native Americans on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation and then living in inner city Detroit. So when we expose ourselves to different people, different cultures and just different ways of life, even within our own country, like it's, first of all, for me, it's been very humbling. And second of all, it's very opening. It opens up your eyes, it opens up your ears, it opens up your mind, it opens up your heart. It gives you just that, like you said earlier, a different perspective on the world, on life, on just people's opinions and beliefs. It's just it's very valuable. So that's cool, and we're gonna get into that more too, because I really look forward to kind of hearing more of your perspective on that. So favorite quote, mantra, or word?
So favorite quote, I mean, I don't have too many. I think that a lot of times we're always searching for external stuff instead of just being driven and for yourself. Obviously that can help, but I was a huge Michael Jordan fan, so I still always remember that quote. It's like I've missed, I think it's like 9,000 shots. I've lost 300 games. I've missed the game-winning shot 26, 27 times, whatever it is. Failed over and over again. That's why I succeed.
Right. So, yeah, that's a powerful quote.
Michael Jordan's one of the best players in the world and ever. And you fail.
Absolutely.
But the story doesn't end there, so it's not really a failure. You know what I mean? I forget who I was listening to. It actually might have been Kobe Bryant on. I think he was talking to. I forget who he was talking to. and he was saying how he never looks at failure because the story goes on, you know, like the story keeps going on and keeps going on. There's always that second act, that what's next, you know?
Right,
so
right.
He doesn't look at it as a finite thing, you know. He looks at it as a continuum throughout your life. So,
yeah. Cool. All right. The last question in terms of the warm up, Ryan, favorite or most listened to podcast?
So I'd have to go with I think Ben Greenfield Fitness.
Okay,
You
yeah.
like him, yeah.
I don't.
Interesting.
He's really woo woo for me, man. I
Yeah.
don't do well with woo woo, but
Yeah.
he does some
He does
crazy
some very
things. But
interesting stuff.
respect to him because I mean he's
Yeah.
he's a big time fitness influencer for sure. So
Yeah, he has some really cool stuff and some really cool techniques and tactics, and I dig that stuff. I dig the contrarian, the different point of view.
Yeah,
you know? I think a lot of people think, hey, this is supposed to be this way, this way, this way. Well, let's look at this way. Let's
For
try
sure.
this and see what happens, because everybody
Absolutely.
responds differently to different things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
I think he has some really good stuff. But,
Cool. All right, so Ryan, let's transition into your kind of like your backstory. I'd love to find out where you grew up, kind of like what those younger years look like. I'm assuming sports were a huge part of your childhood and those younger years. But if you don't mind sharing with myself and the 127 Fit podcast listeners, where did you grow up? What the younger years look like? You know, kind of how was the family environment? You know, do you have siblings? Just kind of unpack that for us if you don't mind.
yeah, of course. So I grew up kind of right down the street, Littleton, Colorado.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Went to Chatfield High School. So, but yeah, I had a great, amazing family. I have an older brother, younger sister, who I'm all still really, really close to. We all live within 20, 30 minutes of each other, and every Sunday we try to meet up, family dinner.
Cool,
Not
yeah.
every Sunday, but we try to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, amazing parents. Parents loved like all the love for us, all the support, everything we needed. Just making sure we had all those basics down. We felt safe. We felt loved. We felt, you know, like we could talk to them about anything. And yeah, so
Cool.
Awesome family upbringing. Everything was amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So.
Yeah. Now, in terms of like your parents, as you kind of reflect on your childhood and look back on those younger years, what's something that you feel your parents specifically instilled in you that has been, you know, really important in your development and your maturing as an adult?
Yeah, I definitely think love from both of them, you know. My mom had a lot of love in her. My dad still does. My mom was amazing at listening to people and having a conversation without, you know how it is these days. A lot of times it's hard to have conversations with people that think differently about you.
Absolutely.
Because you kind of want to put your point to them.
Yeah.
Like the whole listening part. So my mom was amazing at that. And I definitely think I learned a lot from that.
Okay.
My dad, he was a grinder, man. My dad worked hard and he just put his head down and worked a lot. So that definitely shaped my work ethic, and me trying to get to where I got to is definitely a product of that. So those are kind of the two main things from each of them, I guess.
Okay. Was your dad kind of like was he the disciplinarian in the home, and mom was just more of kind of like kind of like that loving, nurturing person, or not?
Yeah, a little bit, you know. I mean, if we did get in trouble, if it was that bad, sometimes your mom's like, "Oh, wait till your dad gets home."
Oh yeah. I got that. Yeah, I got my dad's bare hand on my bare butt. It sucked, man. But
my mom, 4 kids. She was the same, man. So
okay. Cool. All right. So let's talk about your activities in childhood. Let's talk about sports. Let's talk about were you involved in anything else outside of sports? Just share a little bit about that for us.
So yeah, I grew up playing all sports, probably just like you.
Yep.
Something a little bit different. I was on the swim team.
Yeah, I was too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that's really good, especially for youth and development.
100% agree.
One thing I did not do that I wish just knowing all the stuff in gymnastics. I think that's a great thing for kids.
Yeah.
To learn how to move their body and fall and be safe and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I grew up doing football, baseball, basketball, and swimming. My mom made us do music, so I played the saxophone in
Okay, that's
school.
cool. Yeah, that's good though, man. That's good.
I think like 5th, 6th, maybe 7th grade. So,
okay.
yeah, everything to try it out and if you like it. So
yeah.
Obviously you went with the sports route. My favorite sport growing up was baseball though.
Oh really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I loved baseball. I definitely wanted to pursue that up until I was probably like 8th, 9th grade.
Okay.
And that's when I kind of transitioned into basketball. 10th grade I only played, 11th grade I only played basketball. I played football up until then as well. So, but yeah, baseball was my sport. I loved it. Rockies games.
Okay, cool.
That was my thing, man.
Yeah.
Just like being out there, summertime. I don't know why. I just loved it though.
Yeah. Was baseball something that was really important to your dad?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't know why I liked it so much. I think because of my grandpa. I remember going back to Iowa and like just playing catch with him and my older cousin. They were big into baseball too as well. So maybe that was a little bit of it. Now that I reflect about it, I haven't really thought about that. But
yeah. You ever see the movie Field of Dreams?
Of course,
yeah, man. That's filmed in Iowa, dude.
You got to, right?
one of our few claims to fame, you know. Good old Iowegians. We gotta hold on to a few of those things. So, okay, so let's talk about. I wanna pull out of your childhood because I'm the same thing. Like I grew up in an amazing home, all this different stuff, but. And I have a lot of my guests, and it's always interesting because, and you work with professional athletes, and we were talking about, professional athletes before we turn on the mic, but you see a lot of professional athletes, you kind of hear that you hear one story, you've kind of heard them all from the, inner city, tough upbringing, they make it pro. But a lot of times, especially with a lot of the guests that I've had on here, Ryan, on the podcast, they're very successful entrepreneurs, very successful within fitness and all these different things. And a lot of them came from a very loving, kind of wholesome, great family environment, right? So there's something to, and being a school teacher and things like that, and then working with inner city kids and kids on the reservation, like I've seen personally, and I can speak on it myself, the value, the importance in terms of what our childhood is like, right? So there is something very powerful about having that love, that acceptance, and that safe environment to grow up in, right? In terms of somebody being quote unquote successful, whatever that is in our world, right? But even for me, within that amazing home environment, there was some things that I struggled with. I want to pull out, was there a struggle? Was there something, as you look back and reflect on your younger years, was there something that you really had to overcome or kind of work through internally, personally? Let's just limit it to like high school and below.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really thought about it too much, but confidence, I think everybody, you have these dreams and these goals, and once you get to a certain level, you question yourself because you see things and you think that what you see on TV or what you see over there, like there's something that you don't have that they have. So sometimes you question your confidence, but then when you get there, you realize that we're all very, very similar, right? Like they don't have any special powers that you don't have. You know what I mean? And even once I get to that level, everybody has a little bit of those doubts and questions and all that sort of stuff. So. I mean, I guess that would be the only thing. Confidence. I mean, like, yeah.
What do you unpack that a little bit more? What do you mean confidence? Like, was it like athletically? Was it like talking to girls? Like,
athletically.
Okay.
Right? Like,
yeah.
You put the work in, and like I was a psycho in high school. A lot of my friends would tell you, like, all I did was play basketball once I got to like 10th, 11th grade. Literally.
Yeah.
I did not hang out. I was like very driven on that part. Right. But then, it's like you put in all this work in. What happens if you don't get this team or you don't do this? It makes you really question things, It's like, was this for nothing? Are you good enough? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, you say you're doing all this stuff and you didn't do it. I mean, a lot of questions, right? Like for me, I mean, a little bit not younger years, but old, like high school. Like my dream was Division I. growing up, I'm all-state basketball, top 5 player, averaged like 18, 20 points, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Did not get a Division I recruit. So I went out east and I walked on, and it was crazy because all I did for like 2-3 years is basketball.
This is a great point.
And I did not get that Division I scholarship. So of course I had these D2 offers, like, no, this is my goal, this is my goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, the confidence definitely is like, are you good enough? You say you put all this work in, is it worth it? You know, but reflecting back on that, it's the journey, you know, like I can truly say to myself, I put in as much as I could and I try to fulfill my dreams, and life works out in different ways, you know. You might not, it's all about the journey. You might not get to that destination, but something better happens,
for
right?
sure.
Like whatever that quote is. Yeah. So yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah,
cool. It makes sense, and it's a great point, because I had a very, again, similar upbringing. Like basketball used to be like my sport. I used to I'll say have to, because that's the story I told myself in my mind was I have to make 100 made shots for basketball every single day. And I grew up in Iowa, and we're talking about like negative 40 degrees. Like I put like a breathing mask over my mouth, right? Yeah. And go outside all bundled up. And usually my mom would put her overalls on. She'd be my rebounder. And I'd have to make 100 made shots. Yeah. And it's just like, there was some sort of like obsession and just like this, something within me. It's like, I have to do this. I have to like work hard and work hard and work hard. But then like you mentioned, as you get older, the reality that you kind of have set in your mind isn't necessarily that, you know what I mean? And then you kind of realize like, well, there's a lot more that goes into it than just putting in hard work. There's genetics, right? There's, having maybe your dad as the head basketball coach, or, the politics. There's all sorts of other things. So no, that's a great point, and that's even got my brain churning a little bit. So, okay, we're going to obviously continue to move on with your story in terms of basketball. You just mentioned wanting to go D1, didn't get the D1 offers. You said you go out east and you walk on. So let's just talk about, where did you go to college? What did you study in college? What was your basketball and life experience like in college?
Yeah, it was interesting, man. I mean, being from Colorado, going way out to New York for 1 year and then to Maryland for 3. Mm-hmm. You know nobody. You literally know 0 people. So it makes you grow up, It's like you have all these things on who you are as a person and what you're about, but nobody knows you. Nobody knows your past. So you 100%. Can kind of truly be who you are. Yeah, which I thought was kind of liberating. I thought it was very, liberating. So I went to Towson University and I walked on there. That was a very interesting story because it's a Division I program, and me being 6'2", 6'3", probably 175 at the time. 180, don't look like a 6'8" basketball player, but what I did is I didn't even have a car there, man. So I would actually have to run 2 miles to school, walk to school. I'd do all my workouts. I remember my schedule: Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the morning I would run there. So I'd run 2 miles and I would try to do it in under 12 minutes. Tuesday, Thursday, I'd only run 1 mile. In between my classes in the afternoon, that's when I would either lift or get my skill development on. So then I'd do my drills. And then at night, in the evenings, I'd try to play at this place called Burdick Hall with the basketball players. So start playing with a couple of these guys, Rocky Coleman, Tim Crossan, Gary Neal, Trevin Jackson, Winston Tubbs, all my college guys. And so then I'm like, hey, I'm trying to walk on. So then what I do... For like the next 2 weeks, I remember I would go to the coach's office and I would just wait there, talk to the reception, like, hey, I'm just trying to introduce myself. I'm trying to walk on. First time, I'd wait there for like an hour. Hey, I got to go back to class. Nothing. I go there the next day. Every day I would go for like 2 weeks. A couple times I would see the coach. A lot of times he would not give me the time of the day. finally he had some time. He's like, hey, what's going on, man? You've been here like a week and a half, 2 weeks. Like, what? Hey, I'm just trying to walk on. What do I need to do? Da, 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 da. So then I finally walk on and start playing with the guys in the more organized scrimmages and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what happened at Towson. And I remember talking about confidence again too. You know, like you're at the Division I level with those guys, you know, who can play. They can go.
Right.
They're athletic. They're
sure.
everything, right? And one of the best players in the country, Gary Neal, was there, like leading scorer in the country. And it was awesome seeing his work ethic and what he did to get to where he's at. Like played in the NBA for the Spurs, played overseas, crushed it overseas. I mean, he got where he's at because of his work ethic, you know, which is really cool to see. But yeah, it's like, you know, confidence. Do you belong there? Are you good enough? And I can be very honest. When I was that age, coming in there, I was not strong. I was not quick. I was not athletic. So it was a challenge, right? Like I'm a walk on. I'm on the third team, so the first team just beats us up, beats us up. And then I remember one time. This is when I felt like I finally belonged. We were doing like preseason half-court scrimmages in Burdick Hall again, the Towson Center. That's where we played. It had something going on, so we had and we were running a horn set, you know. And I'm a point guard. I was really a 2 in high school, 2 or 3, but in college, you know, 6'2", you got to be a point guard, right? And this guy Curtis Williams was checking me. 6-foot guard from Carolina, super athletic, could like dunk from free throw, like strong as an ox. I kept trying to go off the screen, and he ripped me once, and then he ripped me again, and then I'm finally like, all right, man, I get the ball, like, let's go. I get there, somehow Gary gets switched off of me. I pull back, and then Gary goes for the steal. I spin move, top of the key, hit a 3-point jump shot, and like it was like silent. Like, I was like, I was even silent. I was like, dang, I did that, right? I got that inside me, you know. Like even the coach was like what just happened, you know?
Yeah.
So that was a really cool experience for me. To first start my college journey. And then, you know, after that I get on the team and we're playing George Mason, and I get a bucket against George Mason, who was in the Final Four the year before. So yeah, just small little things like that and whatnot. But college was awesome, man. And yeah, it was a great experience at Towson, being around some of those great players. So I got some great relationships. And
Now my question is, and probably some of the listeners are probably wondering the same thing. How did you end up out at Towson, which you said is in New York? Is that correct?
Oh, that's in Maryland.
Oh, it's in Maryland.
Yeah.
Okay, so didn't you you went somewhere your freshman year in New York, right?
Yeah, I went to...
How did you end up there?
I knew the coach, so it was a junior college.
So
coming out of Colorado, had Division II looks throughout the RMAC, and I didn't take them, so I went to junior college in 1 year in Binghamton, New York.
Okay.
Coach Larry King, my guys Brian Williams, Chris Brewitt, some good guys I still talk to. Jeff Evelard, New York City guys, cool guys. Yeah.
And then so from your JUCO you go to Towson, which is in Maryland, and then you walked on there, and that's because you knew the head coach then or something?
I knew nobody.
Okay, so how did you end up at Towson?
I just chose it. I'm in New York, and I'm thinking I can go to the school called Binghamton. It's a Division I program, or like a Patriot school, and doesn't happen. I mean, I played decent as a freshman, averaged like 8 points. Doesn't happen. I don't get really recruited at all. The coach is leaving, everybody else is leaving, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to leave too. So I'm looking at some schools. I'm thinking, like, where can I go that I can walk on, and I know my work ethic. I know I'm going to be the hardest worker in the gym. Yeah. And maybe get an opportunity to play. I saw Towson. I went to a visit. I loved the campus. I knew there was a new coach that year. So obviously with a new coach, usually there's a lot of turnover.
Of course.
And I don't know why I've always liked Towson, or Maryland. One of the reasons is my coach, my coach when I was like 4th, 5th, 6th grade. He was from Maryland.
Okay.
And he has this accent, and I don't know why. Ever since then, I love Maryland. So I wanted to check out Maryland.
Yeah.
Dude, just chose it. Yeah.
Were you a fan of the University of Maryland and Steve Francis, right? Year 2000, they won the national championship. Yeah. Okay.
Steve Blake. Yeah.
Oh, it's Steve Blake, right? Yeah, that's right.
Blake
Not
Steve Francis. They both went there.
Okay. All right. Okay, I got it right. That's good. Yeah, Stevie Franchise, they called him when he was in the NBA, man. He was another guy with Allen Iverson and Stephon Marbury, which we're going to talk about Stephon here in a little bit because you've got a connection with him now. But so before we kind of wrap up the college thing, what did you end up studying in college? And socially, kind of like, obviously, because I only played 1 year of college football, but just being an athlete, like, you know, you kind of already have like and you were a walk-on, so it's a little bit different. But once you made the team, you kind of have that in socially, right? So socially, kind of like what were those college years like? But before you kind of talk about that, Ryan, what did you end up studying in college?
So exercise science.
Okay,
just like
perfect.
You too.
Yep.
I mean, I loved the body and trying to get results and the science behind it.
Yeah,
I think the body is the most amazing thing.
Absolutely.
You know, like space in the body, whatever. But, so yeah, I actually did that, and I got a business administration degree as well. So I actually got 2 degrees.
Yep.
Which was pretty cool. Sports management. Business administration minor, and then exercise science.
Cool.
Well.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, socially was great. I mean, Towson was awesome. Very diverse school. Yeah, it was great. It was great. I loved it. Really close with some of my teammates, but also made some really close friends outside, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a great time at Towson for sure.
Did you do any partying, or were you just laying pretty low, working hard for basketball?
I really didn't, man. Like I didn't too much, honestly. I was that weird guy that I remember a couple times in New York too. My roommates can tell you I'd be 6 a.m. I didn't think I was being loud, but I had my jump soles on in the living room, like doing a jump sole workout. And I love mornings, and I'm still that way.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
I honestly did not party too much when I was younger.
Yeah.
I was very driven. I really was driven, and I worked extremely hard. So maybe I should have done a little bit more to relax. But
no, man, not at all. You know what? Because when I played football my freshman year, I still remember I was a linebacker, and there's another freshman. His name's Zach. That was a linebacker, and I remember, like, none of us. Well, some people did. They got caught, but I didn't drink. A lot of us didn't drink during the football season because we were just like focused on football and all that. But as soon as we lost in the first round of the playoffs, go over to upperclassman's house and the partying starts, right? And I partook in that. But I remember Zach Van Arkel. Because my thing was like, I want to get people drunk, right? Like I'm gonna get wasted. Like I want other people to get wasted, especially the people that like don't really drink. But I really remember Zach because it's like no matter what I said, no matter what I did, no matter how persistent I was, like he's like, nope, I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking. Like he was at the parties, he was hanging out with us, but he didn't drink. And he was one of the best football players on the team in terms of freshmen. But that's still like, and I've said this several times, just post college, just talking about different things in my life. But like Zach's, that example, it's seared, it's burned into my mind because it's like throughout all that peer pressure and everybody, upperclassmen and us lowerclassmen, everybody's wasted, everybody's drunk, everybody's partying, and Zach Van Arkel is just like, nope, I don't need to do that. And that's right there. Like whether he was like, whether it was for maybe, religious reasons or just other personal reasons, like he chose not to do that. And for me as a grown man now, I look back, I'm like, that at that age, that's something special. Again, whatever the reason is, maybe he just, didn't like alcohol or was religious, or maybe he's just like, this isn't going to get me where I want to go, what have you. But still, that example is set in my mind, and I think that's really awesome. So even with your story, it's like, hey, maybe I should have. No, you shouldn't have, because that's what you chose to do, and it's awesome, man. You know what I mean? It's really cool. Right. I understand. Yeah, no, that's cool, dude. That's really cool, because it takes a lot to say, you know what, I don't want that in my life, especially at that age. You know what I mean? So cool. All right, so let's talk about kind of post college. So you studied exercise science, got some business understanding through your education as well. I want you to talk about maybe what you were thinking about doing. So in terms of studying exercise science, were you always set on or focused on becoming a strength and conditioning coach? Were you thinking about being a personal trainer? Were you wanting to own your own gym? Kind of what was that like? And then has that come to fruition, or has that path kind of altered post-college?
So yes, after college, I basically didn't even play, but I still thought I could play overseas.
Okay.
So I still wanted to learn more, and I still wanted to pursue that, So I still worked out. I still did all my basketball stuff. I was still very driven, and I thought I still had an opportunity. So yeah, just basketball, sports performance, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, hey, if I play overseas, I can be a strength and conditioning coach. Also, I can do some skill development, do some skills coach. I want to be involved in this game because I've seen what it's done, and I love the game of basketball. So that's what I tried to do. I actually lived up in Pennsylvania with another one of my mentors, Wayne Jones, who was my AAU coach. And throughout high school, man, he's the guy that really was the catalyst for pushing me and driving me to be the best I could. And still talk to him this day. Great guy. I was at his kid's high school graduation last year, trying to go out this year depending on my schedule. But he was the guy that really made me love the game of basketball, and he made me realize how much work you have to put in to get to the level you want. So I lived with him, worked out a lot. Then I came back to Colorado, and I did a lot of these like ABA tryouts, overseas, tryouts, D-League tryouts, all that sort of stuff. And I was just like spinning my wheels, man. It's a grind doing that, because you're in 200, 500 people. They're taking maybe 2 players, maybe 10 players at the most, man. Like, talking about confidence too. Like that's tough, man. It's hard to shine when so many players are very similar and they have this background and that sort of stuff. So man, it was tough, but I was able to make an ABA team, so I played a little bit with that. And then I went overseas with a group called Crossover in Nanzo Azubuki, great guy. Met some great people, so I played a little bit over there in Germany and Czech Republic, and try to get a little bit exposure over that way. And it just didn't work out. It wasn't my journey. I mean, was there a way for me to play professionally? Yes. Did I find out that way? Did I figure it out? No. But I learned a lot from it. So, but yeah, that's kind of my journey. And then I started, when I was back here in Colorado, started working at this gym called Sport Excel. Sport Excel was ran by another one of my mentors, Eric Phillips. Eric Phillips is amazing person, a great coach. He worked with the Nuggets for a little bit, and then he was the head strength and conditioning coach in Phoenix, so for the Phoenix Suns.
Oh, cool.
Learned a lot from him. He's helped me out tremendously in my career and my path, and I've learned so much from him. I'm extremely thankful of what he's done for me. So yeah, that's kind of my path post college, and I've always wanted to be around the game. I love the game of basketball. So
let's talk about that. Just your love for basketball, because you mentioned earlier that up until I think it was about eighth or ninth grade, you really loved baseball, and then it really shifted. It sounds like from your story in 10th grade, you really kind of went all in and focused specifically on basketball. What is it? Because I mean, you talk to again, you hear professional athletes talking about the love of the game. We were talking pre-podcast about Kobe Bryant. You mentioned Michael Jordan, things like that, and I listened to some podcasts with some former NBA players, and they talk about the love of the game, and they also talk about how not everybody that makes it to the NBA has that love. It's more of kind of like the business, right? So, but back to your story, what is it about basketball that you just that attracts you to it, and why is there a love for basketball in terms of you personally, Ryan?
I don't know, man. I think it's like such a interesting sport. It's very fluid. It's like a dance. It's very aesthetic to me. It's very like peaceful. Sometimes I like doing just watching games with no sound. You know, like just watching how these people move and they like dance on the court, which is really cool. And it brings me back. I remember I'd go to my elementary school on the outside playground and just like try to do those moves, you know, just like dance on the court at Stony Creek. And then once I got older, you know, Wayne Jones, my mentor, like he definitely pushed me to that next level of passion, and realizing that passion without work, there's nothing really. Like you can be passionate about something, but if you're not working for it, then you're not going to do anything.
That's
with
powerful.
It. So,
yeah.
I mean, he really helped me realize that, and then I started doing the same thing and working out with him at 5 a.m. before school, and then going to 24-hour fitness in the after school, and again just like dancing on the court and like trying to make rhythms with the basketball and the swish and the net and the sneakers. Man, I don't know why. I was very, very attracted to that, and I love that. So
cool. Okay, so let's talk about strength and conditioning. That is a very, very competitive field. I have a guy that I went to. He was a senior in high school when I was a freshman. We were pretty close. We lifted weights together. We went to the same college. You know, he's been all over the place. He was just, his last stop was Washington State, and this is just as an assistant, right? Because like the head strength and conditioning positions, when you start getting up into, you know, Division I, I mean it's really, really tough, right? And now he's back down in the SEC now, but and he, I mean he's been an intern sleeping on couches, right? At the SEC, like not making any money, just I mean, just you want to talk about work ethic and grinding to try to reach a pinnacle or a goal. Like I've seen it through him, and I have so much respect for him and just appreciate his work ethic and his hard work. But and I've had, you know, a couple other people, strength and conditioning coaches on here. It's competitive. It's a tough field. For you, it sounds like you maybe had one or two really impactful mentors that maybe provided some opportunities for you. But just, you know, practically speaking and professionally in terms of being a strength and conditioning coach, kind of what does that look like? If somebody's a younger person's listening to this, Ryan, and they're like, you know, maybe they're in college right now, they're going to get their kinesiology degree or exercise science degree, and they want to be a strength and conditioning coach, what does that kind of look like practically speaking?
I mean, kind of like what you said, realize that that's the goal, right? Just like goals to be in the NBA playing, right? To be a strength coach for the NBA or NFL. It's a lot of work, man. You're going to have to grind. You're going to have to make basically no money. You're going to have to do all the grunt work, the low-level work, the janitorial work, you know, cleaning gyms and doing all that stuff. There's a lot of time where it's not glamour, it's not glitz, you know, and I think it's a lot of is your attitude while you're doing that work. You know, like if you're doing that work and you're thinking, oh, why am I doing this? I want to be working with this athlete. I want to be doing that. I'm better. I think it's tough to have that kind of attitude and make it, you know what I mean? So whenever, maybe this is a quote that I use a lot too, is how you do anything is how you do everything.
100%, yep.
I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, because I remember that back in the day, like, how you clean this dumbbell, how you 100%. Clean this Swiss ball.
Yeah.
If you do a half-ass job, if you're just like, man, this doesn't matter, is how you're going to do that. It's how you're going to train a pro athlete.
Absolutely.
Like so that's one aspect of it. The other aspect too is that I think that every time that I was in positions where I'm like talking to people and I think when you can relate to people and have a very good personal skills and that sort of thing, I think that helps out a lot. You know, it's setting your ego aside, it's talking to people, it's having the knowledge and how you communicate with people and what kind of person you are, you know, because a lot of times when opportunities come to a gym or come to somebody's lap, if you're not the right person for it, if you haven't been treating people the right way and talking to people the right way, that it won't happen. You know what I mean? Like usually when you get to these higher level jobs, you have to have some sort of a connection, right?
Absolutely.
And if you don't have that, if that connection can't say, hey, this guy, man, he knows his stuff, he's awesome, he's a great strength and coach, he gets results, but at the same time, he's a great person to be around. He understands all these other things outside of sports. You don't have to micromanage him. You don't have to like babysit. He doesn't have an ego. Like all those sort of things, especially when you get to those higher levels. I think that's huge because it's not about you, man. Like it's about the players, the team, keeping them healthy on the court and producing results.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are the two main things. You know, how you do anything is how you do everything, and just making sure that you're that person. So when you have that contact and that network, if you treat people the right way, talk to people the right way, don't have that ego, which a lot of strength coaches do, a lot of personal trainers do. It's like who's the baddest, who's the biggest, who's the strongest, and I was never that kind of person, you know.
Yeah, that you can say that, especially like within like kind of the football realm of things, man. Like it gets crazy. But okay, so you know, again, kind of like the practicals of a strength and conditioning coach. You like we're talking about, you know, being a collegiate or you know, being a collegiate strength and conditioning coach, or being you know, one on a professional team, right? So you have to have your bachelor's degree, right? And then you have to pass your CSCS. Is that correct?
I'm not sure now, like what requirements are there. I do have my CSCS, but I think if you want to talk about more practical stuff, like learn as much as you can, get some of those awesome credentials. You know, make sure you have that degree. Before I kind of got out to China and was a strength coach there, I was looking to get my master's. You know, as well.
Of course.
I think the more knowledge you can get, the more you show people that you care, but also like you're getting a lot of that information and that knowledge too as well. CSCS, NESM was huge back, you know, when I first started. USAW, I don't do a lot of Olympic lifting, but I have it just in case. Functional movement screen. There's so many out there now. Rain,
But also, and I'm just trying to pull this out of you, Ryan, just for some of the younger listeners that might be like thinking about getting into this, because I want them to understand that like you said, like it's a grind, right? There's a lot of not only schooling and educational things that have to happen, but then also just kind of like paying your dues. So like internships, would you say that's something that younger people should really look into and pursue? And
especially around the college years, you know, senior year of college, I did a couple internships at Velocity Sports Performance. And then I mean, kind of when you first start working, it's part-time stuff. I mean, I was at the gym 24/7, but I probably get paid for like 3 hours of work, you know? So that kind of is an internship. So I think internships are definitely powerful, especially if you have a certain field you want to be in, if you have some mentors or something, if you have people that you follow and you want to be like them, reach out to them and see what you can do to help them out. I think that goes a long way.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so before we kind of talk about you know, you being the head strength coach for the Beijing Royal Fighters, before we kind of get to where you're at, like currently, you mentioned kind of those personal skills, right? And you mentioned earlier how impactful your mom was, in the sense of not only the love that she gave you and your siblings, but also you know, the importance of her just listening, right? And you know, that's something through the podcast, Ryan, for myself personally, that I have learned the power and the importance for myself personally, but just, you know, in terms of communication with other human beings, listening is so valuable, it's so powerful, and it's so very important, right? And, you know, yesterday, you know, I was a part of a podcasting, storytelling, public speaking meetup, and that's something, you know, I had an opportunity to share a little bit, and that's something I touched on in terms of what I've learned through podcasting, again, is the importance the value, the power of listening. And I'm somebody that I like to talk. I can carry on a conversation, and I used to be the kid that would blurt out answers in class, in high school and in college and all this different stuff. I can't believe how important or just the awakening to the importance of listening. Like, it's because we live in a culture, right? Like here in the United States, it's like, and I'm sure you experience it in China and your other world travels. Like, dude, everybody's talking. There's so much information. We've got social media. We've got this news and this and that. And everybody's talking. Everybody's kind of like spewing words, but not very many people are willing to listen or even understand the importance of listening, right? In terms of like learning and all of that. So how important have you found, as a strength coach, working with professional athletes, high-level individuals, how important is it, to really listen and show that, you care about them in terms of just building that rapport, building relationships, and being, the best strength and conditioning coach that you can be?
I mean, like you said, that's the number one thing, like they don't care how much you know until they know how you care. I mean, there's so many quotes like that, but when you do build it, you want the best for them. They want the best for them too. Mm-hmm. So specifically, probably like pro athletes, you want to figure out like, hey, I understand you're here at this level. Like let me talk to you and what got you to that level, right? So me, I think the ego, right? Like take your ego out, listen to them, what works for them. Obviously, I have ridiculous amounts of knowledge on this because I'm studied this, but it's their body. They know their body usually a lot better than you do. Obviously, it's nice to have an outside perspective on how they move and how they do that. But yeah, when you listen to them and build that rapport on what they do and why they do it and how they do it, and it kind of helps you shape how you talk and how you communicate with them. And if you're they think this certain tactic or this certain program works for their body and it got them to that level, then I'm like, all right, let's do that. Let's rock it out. Let's get that done. But also, like, let's focus on these sort of things and meeting them kind of like halfway, if that makes sense.
Of course.
Or making sure that they get what they want, as well as you kind of sprinkle in and you kind of give your expertise as well. Because a lot of times if athletes are doing what they don't want to do, it's like a compliance factor. You know what I mean? Especially at the high level, you can make somebody 2%, 5% better. That's drastic.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They're already the best of their game. Like, this is I always joke with a lot of these athletes I train. Like, you're at the best of their game. Why am I going to tell you to do eye drills, and now why is that going to make you better? Like, hey, you want to shoot better, you want to get stronger, move your eyes to the left, right?
Right, right.
They're going to be like, what? Who are you, man? Like, I'm playing at the highest level.
Yeah,
why am I going to listen to you?
Of course.
So when you have that rapport and you can explain it to them in a way they can understand, mm-hmm. and then you can show them results, that's the best, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah. I mean, results is everything. That's what anybody in this world really cares about, is like, what are you going to do for me? Like, how are you going to help me get where I want to go, right?
Yeah.
So,
especially with the athletes too,
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
because they have so many people work with them, so many people telling them to do this, telling them to do that. So it's always interesting talking with them because they have so many preconceived things about what people have told them in the past and all that. And I think all that shapes where they got to and shapes how they move and how they play. And, you have to respect that, but then also you have to question it and have them question things, So it's like, oh, hey, what if we just change this little thing? Like with this neurology-based training, like certain small changes can make drastic impacts.
Right.
You know what I mean? That most people don't think of. They're like,
mm-hmm.
oh, and then when they shoot better or when they lift more weights or they're faster, that sort of thing, that's a very powerful thing
mm-hmm.
to me.
I want you to talk a little bit more about ego, because that's a word that you've used a lot. There's a pretty popular book out there. If I remember correctly, it's called Ego is the Enemy, right? And again, I believe it was before we turned on the mic, you brought up a very insightful kind of like, explanation or you said something in the terms of like you Ryan personally try to look at both sides of things, right? We were talking about something and you're like, I really try to look at both sides, right? So in referring to that book, Ego is the Enemy, I've never read the book, just the title kind of, it's a pretty powerful title. So I'm not saying that I agree with it or I don't agree with it, but ego is a real thing. And you've brought up, that terminology quite a bit as you've been sharing your story and just talking about some different things. So I want you to talk a little bit more about ego. Like, what is ego to you? And then, like, how is that maybe a positive or a negative, whatever your perspective is in terms of just being a human being, but then also as a coach, from my perspective, I would say like within, strength and conditioning, and you start getting into higher level business, athletics, there's a lot of ego. And we were talking about a specific individual in terms of ego earlier before the mic turned on. So expound a little bit more on ego. Like what does that look like for you? What does it mean? Just kind of your perspective. I'm kind of intrigued about that.
I never think I'm better than anybody, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, I don't think I'm better than people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we all came into this world the same way. We're all going to leave the world the same way. You know what I mean? We all breathe the same air. There's so many things that are very common, so many commonalities between, so many different types of people. So I just always had that in my being for some reason, like I'm not better than anybody.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, like, I know I'm not always right. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of sports performance coaches, strength coaches, they think their program, this is like, it's always right. Yes, we have a lot of knowledge and we have a lot of conviction on what we're doing, but sometimes it's not the best thing for that athlete at that time. And I'll be the first person to say it, right? And when athletes realize that, they think, oh, like almost all strength, not all of them, but a lot of them are like, do this and this, do this and this. When I have these talks with these pro athletes, and if something doesn't work right, like if I do an eye drill and it's like, whoa, man, that felt weird, like I'm not as strong, then let's not do that. I'm wrong. The first person to say, like, if it's not getting you better, don't do it. You know what I mean? So I think when they hear that, they're like, that's very different for them, because most people don't always say that. Most people just think, do this, do this, do this, to get that, to get that, to get that.
Right.
So when I'm like, hey man, we shouldn't do that, like if it's not working, if we're not getting the results, I think we should do this. We're not getting the results, let's not do it. I'm wrong. Let me go back to the drawing board. Let me go back and let's figure this out and work together. So I guess that's what ego means to me, is like, I'm never better than anybody.
Yeah,
We're all in this together. We all came in the same way. We're all leaving the same way. And then practically, with athletes, just realizing that they know their bodies really well, and being wrong is okay, and figuring out what to do to make them 2%, 5% better. That's the goal.
Cool. Now, yeah, it definitely makes sense, and I appreciate that perspective. Now, because I asked you earlier, again, before we turn on the mic, I'm like, have you always been like this mellow and chill? And you're like, yeah, for the most part. I'm like, okay, cool. Cause like, you're just like super mellow, super chill. Right. And, but at some times in life, like we've kind of got to, especially as a head strength coach or somebody that's kind of in a leadership position, at some points in life, we've got to kind of put down our foot, and there's got to be some sort of like aggression. Maybe you don't agree with that, and I'd love to hear your perspective on that. But at some point, we've kind of got to like just say like, hey, no, like this is the way it's got to be. This is the direction we're going. What have you? Is that something that you agree with? Is that something that you struggle with? Kind of like really asserting yourself. What does that look like for you, Ryan?
I think it's a very interesting question with a lot of different ways.
Right.
That you can take this, right? Confidence, ego again, like me telling somebody what to do, as we have to go this direction. That's what the fitness industry loves.
Right.
You have to eat this. You have to do these reps, these sets. I don't think there's a lot of evidence at that. That's just what that's just my opinion. You know what I mean? So when if I think I'm right and I have this ego and I'm telling you this, people love being told what to do. People don't love concepts, and like we talked about earlier, like seeing both sides of the story, right? Like, why should I do 4 instead of 5? Why should I squat? Why should I not squat? Right? Like, that's huge in the sports performance, you know? So, and then the other side is confidence, right? Like, I think aggression and making somebody do something and being like, hey, that's like treating kids, or that's a very low level of communication. When you're talking at somebody, it's like you're in control, you're in power. Like, I'm your boss. No, I'm not, man. Like, let's talk. Let's figure this out. You know what I mean? And if we can't figure it out, then we need to do something else, or you need something. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I look at that thing. That's how I look at it. Like, as a strength coach, I don't have to tell them what to do, but I can, like, I get them going, you know, like, let's get hyped up. Let's get our sympathetic going. And there's many different ways to get people amped up, right? You can yell at them. I don't really do that too much. I mean, sometimes I do. But your sympathetic nervous system is controlled by certain things in your brainstem and your all this sort of stuff. So if I can do stuff to get that going, you're going. You know what I mean? I don't have to, like, do fake. Fake. You know, I think a lot of people do that, and it's all for show. It's all just like, maybe for you. I don't know, but people do that a lot for what? For why? You know, like. So that's
for Instagram. That's why.
For Instagram, for whatever. So that's kind of my thought on all of that sort of stuff.
I appreciate that, man.
It's a very different thought, because it's everybody wants this, wants that, what's that.
I
see both sides.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah. I would love to see you raising your voice and yelling. You said you do it every once in a while.
I do, man.
I would love it, man. That'd be good. I'd love to see Ryan like, hey.
I mean, of course, when I'm out there and telling these guys what to do and to get focused and to like, hey, let's effing go, man. Like, come on. A couple times, because
it's hard, dude. It's so hard for me to envision that, because you're just like, you've got just such this chill, mellow energy. So it'll be good. I might have to come over to China to see it, dude. Huh?
Let's go.
Let's go, man. I don't think we can go right now, though, right? That's why you're back over here, huh?
Yeah, a lot of uncertainty going on in China, man. But
why don't you touch on that? I mean, because obviously we're not in China, and everybody that listens to this podcast regularly knows that I do them in person. We're here in Denver, so. Why are you back over here right now? Because you told me the season is still going on. So
there's just so much uncertainty with what's happening over there. So they postponed the season, and I don't know when we're going to start. A lot of people think we're going to start pretty soon, but speculation, and you know, there's things more important than basketball. It's just a very interesting place to be right now. It's a very uncertain, using that word again. But I mean, China's awesome. I love being over there. It's a great place. There's so many amazing things about being over there and working in the CBA and you know, with the people I'm working with. So I'm kind of excited to get back over there, because you establish a life. You know, we were rolling as a team. We're tied for 4th place. There's like 5 or 6 teams tied for 4th place. We just got a massive win in the last game before our break, which is the Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year. We have a couple days off. So started the break, and it extends into a month break right now, and who knows when we're going to get back.
And what you're alluding to in terms of what's going on over there is the coronavirus, right? That's kind of like why you're back stateside for now. Okay, cool. Now, so I want to talk about how did you become, you know, the head strength coach for the Beijing Royal Fighters? Because like, and we could, this podcast conversation can probably go on for 3 hours, because like there's, you know, you've been well traveled, but how did, you know, just the specifics of where you're at professionally today, how did that come to be?
I think so. Back to working at Sport Excel with Eric Phillips. You know, he has so many great contacts and connections. That's kind of how it started. I was working at Sport Excel, and I actually went to Spain for 6 months to work with the individual players. So that was awesome. That was based from Eric Phillips as well. He was doing this rehab for a player named Magic Lampy. His hip was torn, so he was in Colorado. He was in, I think, Vail, or I forget where, to get the surgery, and then he did all the rehab with us at Sport Excel. He wanted a trainer over there, so I went over there, and then came back and was grinding away at Sport Excel again, learning a lot from Eric. And I remember I'm sitting on the bench one day, just kind of, hanging out during the downtime, and Eric's like, "Hey, you want to go to China?" I'm like, "Ha, yeah, man, let's go." He's like, "No, they need somebody in China." Got on a call with a couple other guys. Another one of my other mentors, Chris Hoffman, who would work a lot in China as well. Like, he was the other strength and conditioning coach. He's Marbury's main guy. So chatted with him, linked up with him. Awesome guy. He was the guy that got me involved in neurology as well. So that was about 4 years ago. I went over to Beijing for 6 months and trained the Beijing Ducks during like their preseason, during their off season. That was about 5 months. These athletes over there, man, they do not have they have like 1 or 2 months off. They go 2-a-days, like 4 days in a row.
Wow.
6 days. Like, they get after it, man. They work crazy hard. So I did that, and then I did that again in 2016, 17-ish. And then I was back here in Denver for a couple years, training, managing gyms, still doing some sports performance on my own. And that's when Marbury got the call to be a coach for the Beijing Royal Fighters. And he reached out to me through my connection with his guy, Chris Hoffman. He's like, "Hey, man, it's time. Let's go. I'm about to be a coach. Like, what are you doing?" I'm like, I'm there, bro. Whatever you need me to do, I got you. Like, let's make it happen. Let's do big things. And
Yeah.
I've been there ever since basically July 1, 2019.
Okay, cool.
So that's
cool.
kinda exactly how it happened.
So and this is your first head strength and conditioning coach position?
Yeah, for the whole season. So like when I was with the Ducks, I was a head strength and conditioning coach, but it was only for the preseason. So
Okay,
then
yeah.
Once Stefan got out there and he started playing, me and Chris would be there together for like 1 month.
Okay.
For the preseason and for like the first game, and then I would go back home. Chris would continue the head strength and conditioning.
Okay.
So Chris was there for like, I think 7. He's been with Marbury for I forget how many years. So he would always be with Stefan doing that as well as training the team.
Okay.
So I was the head strength coach there, but it wasn't during the season.
Yeah,
right.
right.
I mean, it was a good gig, but it's awesome being there during the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there 2 years, and now I'm the only guy at the Beijing Royal Fighters.
So what does that mean to you, Ryan, to be the guy? Like, do you kind of like internalize that? Because I mean, just the short time I've been having conversation with you today, like you seem like a pretty deep intellectual and internalizing type of an individual. Like you think a lot. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty confident in saying that. So have you taken the time? Because I know when you're kind of in the grind of things, like you kind of, it's just you're right here right now, and then you're on to the next thing. Yeah. So have you taken some time to kind of just like soak up, like, hey man, like I'm the head strength and conditioning coach. Like I've kind of, I don't want to say you've reached the pinnacle, but you've reached maybe an aspiration that you've had professionally. Have you taken time to think about that? And if you have, kind of like, what does that mean to you?
Honestly, I haven't, man. It's a grind, but I haven't. I mean, I just keep treating people the right way, keep learning as much as I can, keep doing the right thing. I mean, obviously I don't do the right thing all the time, but
right.
I feel like I just keep trying to do that, be the best person I can. And then, the other stuff takes care of itself, the profession, relationships, all that sort of stuff. So,
yeah.
I mean, looking back at it, it's really cool, man. Like, I love basketball. Like, I know we were talking earlier, and when we were growing up, some of our favorite players when being basketball guys is Allen Iverson, Stephon Marbury, Kevin Garnett, Kobe, all those guys. And like I remember when I first started working with Stephon, it was like, yo man, like you were my favorite player. I remember waiting hours to get your shoes at Stephen Barry's, and now I'm with him every day and making big things happen over there in Beijing. And like he's a global icon, you know.
Right.
It's awesome being around that type of person and that caliber of person, because like he's an awesome, amazing person, and his basketball mind is amazing. But the other thing too that's really, really awesome about working with him is that, like, off the court stuff, you know, like he has a saying that love is love. He has so much love for people, especially for being over there in Beijing and in China. But he's got a lot of love, and he shows that. So that's really cool being around that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's got to be awesome, because when Stephon Marbury played for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I grew up in Iowa, and back in the day when the Clippers, like I talked about, Darius Miles, Quentin Richardson, all those type of guys, they were like, you know, just kind of like fresh out of high school and things like that, and they were young guns. And my dad took my younger brother Brett and I up to Minneapolis. We watched the Timberwolves, Kevin Garnett, Stephon Marbury, Darius Miles, Quentin Richardson, and it's like, it's just crazy. So it's got to be so cool to kind of like be, you know, like you said, around Stephon Marbury and things like that. Now, let's before we kind of head towards the finish line, there's a couple more things I want to touch on, Ryan, specifically in terms of strength and conditioning, right? I want you to just expound a little bit more on kind of the neurology-based sports performance. You touched on a little bit just in terms of your vision training for your morning routine. And you mentioned, you know, a person or two that kind of maybe brought this to light a little bit more for you. But what is specifically kind of neurologically based sports performance? Like, what are you guys really trying to do in terms of making your athletes better?
So yeah, I mean, that's we could talk a lot about this, right? There's so many concepts, right? It's hard to say exactly this, exactly that, exactly that. If people are interested in this neurology-based sports performance, or just neurology or neurology in general for becoming a better person, becoming more fit, lifting more. I mean, there's so many different implications. The main company that I follow is called Z Health. Z Health is a tremendous resource. Check out their Instagram. Check out their YouTube page. Dr. Eric Cobb is amazing. Probably the smartest individual I've talked to and know relative in the fitness industry, in the health industry, just tremendous amount of knowledge. So all this stuff I'm saying is probably very low level compared to a lot of these other guys now. Right. But my story is how I got into it is like strength coach, and I remember when I first got to China, man, like I was in tremendous hip pain, like tremendous. So finally I got an MRI. My dad's a chiropractor. I have a bunch of like Eric, PTs, Rolfing, massage, like I've tried everything, and it'd stay about the same. It'd get a little bit better, a little bit worse, right? Finally, I get an MRI, and they're like, hey, man, like, you have torn hip labrums. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, like, your left is torn, your right's torn. Like, my left hurts, my right doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? How is this happening, man? Like, why does my left have so much pain and my right doesn't, right? So then they're like, stay away from all impact activities. You have arthritis of a 50, 60-year-old, whatever. And that was like very, very tough for me, because throughout my whole life, you know, athlete, you push through all that sort of stuff.
Of course.
I got involved with Z Health through Chris Hoffman, and I'm playing basketball. I played basketball like 4 out of the last 5 days. I went snowboarding. Like, I have no hip pain. Basically, the nervous system is like the governing system in the body. That's kind of very, very basic. So if you want to change pain, if you want to increase strength, if you want to get a better jump shot, look into the nervous system, right? And then we can expand on a lot of things within the nervous system and the brain, right? So if you look into the brain, it's like there's different cortexes, there's different lobes, there's cerebrum, there's cerebellum, there's the brainstem, there's parts of the brainstem. And there's all things in the brain, like there's areas of the brain where things live or pass through, right? So a very small example, right, is that if you want to get better at squatting, right? Let's say squatting, right? There's something in your vestibular system. It's like your equilibrium in in your inner ear, and is very well connected to your eyes. So if you want to get better at squatting, there's certain things you can do to make that function better. When you make that function better, it's kind of like you take the governor off of your body. There's so many things in the nervous system in the body that are there to protect you and keep you safe, that sort of thing. And the more unknown you have, the more injury, the more dysfunction you have, the tighter the governor is pushing down, saying, don't do that, that's scary, don't do that. And most of it's subconscious. Right? So when you work with certain things like that, this thing called the saccule that controls like movement up and down, if you make that better, usually you squat better. Usually, right? But every person's brain is different. Every person interacts differently, right? So that's just kind of like the foundation. But with what I do with these athletes, I want them to be very balanced, and like vision training is very cool because the first thing you do in anything or in sports is you see that and then you react. Like quickness, yes, you can focus on all these techniques, but a lot of times it's the input from your eyes going on. There's so many different pathways in the brain that we can talk about, and then that has to make a decision on what to do, right? So if you don't get the right input and if the eyes aren't working properly, you're not going to be as fast. You know what I mean? That sort of stuff. You couldn't, maybe you're not as strong. You know, imagine like there's certain small things, like for me with the vestibular system and a little bit the vision, I got hit in the head with a baseball bat when I was young, right? So your vestibular system controls like all that quick acceleration, you know? So if that's not working properly, that lateral agility might be compromised. Your athleticism might be compromised. Your equilibrium, your balance might be compromised, right? But as human beings, as species in general, you make the most of what you got, right? You find a way to keep living. You know what I'm saying? So I talked a lot of different concepts too, and back to like that vision thing, right? Like an animal, like a tiger, a dog, they don't like think about how to get the ball. They go get the ball. They go get the deer, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of this subconscious thing, like movement and all that, should be relatively subconscious, and you should just do it. So if you have things working properly in your brain and in your nervous system, that stuff should be more easy. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, it does. It's like you're talking about the like the tiger and the dog. It's just reaction, right?
Instinct.
Yeah, instinct.
Dogs don't, or most of the animals don't have to like stretch and do all this crazy stuff before they go get an animal. They go run, like no, they just run. And that's to me, it's a very big indicator of the health of their nervous system, because the nervous system controls the muscles. The nervous system tells the muscles to be tight or loose. Yes, there's a little bit of feedback the muscles telling the nervous system, but in general, I'd say that the nervous system tells the muscles to be tighter, that the proper tone of the muscles based on the nervous system connection, the nervous system signaling.
Good stuff, man. So then words, like the words that we tell ourselves and the words that we speak out loud,
that has an impact.
That has an impact, right? Talk about that, because I'm so I like the I am statements and you know, just like I'm learning a lot about this, and it's I believe in it in the sense of, like you said, that word subconscious. Like there's so much in terms of what we tell ourselves that then manifests in our lives. So just touch on that a little bit from your perspective.
Yeah. So like in regards to that, it's not placebo, but it's kind of like if you believe something, if you tell yourself something, it works. There's part of your brain that is activated in pathways, and it's like, hey, it has a more chance, higher likelihood of working, right? So, I mean, positive affirmations and believing in yourself and confidence, that's amazing for making sure that your nervous system is working good. You know
right?
what I mean?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And then the subconscious is part that, it's what are you thinking about, what are that, but then also like we don't think about how our eyes move, like we focus so much on how our bicep moves, how our tricep moves, right?
Of course.
We don't focus on like other subconscious things like that, like what's going on with our eyes, and then you specifically focus on them, and then it changes your anatomy, your neuro, whatever, and then you move better, you move differently. But back to your question, the subconscious. I remember back 20 years ago, 10 years ago, people were like, oh, you only use 10% of your brain. No, you use all your brain, but most of it is just the subconscious or the stuff that you're not aware of right now, but it's still activated, it's still working, it's still firing fMRIs. Like you realize that, but it's not awareness of it, you know what I mean? So that's why when you work with things like vision, things like gut, vestibular system, senses, touch, hearing, smell, taste, all that stuff is comprised of that subconscious, and if you make that better, usually other things improve as well. And
that's good.
If that makes sense. I know there's a lot of topics and concepts, and that's the cool thing with neurology is that there's no one answer, right? I had hip pain, I did all this stuff like activate the hips, massage, you're using this too much, and I felt like I was walking around like a rope. There's no rules to movement, what got me out of hip pain would be something different from what got somebody else out of hip pain.
Right, yeah.
Yes, if my hip is painful and I do certain therapies, I do certain PT, strengthen it, that helps. That's part of the equation, right? But there's a lot more involved with that.
Amen. Yeah, that's good.
In my opinion.
I had a young lady on here not too long ago. They're a part of a brain training company here locally in Denver, and so we got obviously deep into the neurology, deep into the brain stuff, and I'm just fascinated by it because literally through my podcast, through some of the guests I've had on here, like I've been like opened up to it, awakened to it, and especially like just kind of like again those going back to the I am statements, these affirmations, and just kind of like the stories we're telling ourselves and the manifestation. Like it's just a door that's been opened to me that I didn't even know the door was there. Right. So I'm really fascinated by that, and then now like putting that into like sport performance, it's just like man, that could literally be a 3-hour podcast, you and I just talking about that stuff, right? But I do appreciate you kind of, simply and basically sharing a little bit of it because it's powerful stuff. Okay, one other thing that I kind of want to talk about in terms of just kind of like specifically, like training athletes, training human beings, injury prevention, okay? Because that's something like if somebody is an athlete, whether they're an older athlete or they're a younger athlete, that's something that is really important to athletes, right? How can I, in the weight room, prevent injury? How can I move correctly? We're kind of seeing this, I think, with Zion Williamson. I've heard some talk about, the people that have been working with him are helping him to land differently because he's had some injuries and stuff like that. So from your perspective, from your experience, Ryan, like injury prevention, again, simply, what does that kind of look like for athletes more specifically?
Again, with this neurology, there's so many different factors, but in general, I would say get into positions and have strength and control in these positions.
Okay.
A lot of times we don't realize like positions that we never get into, but we never warm up, but in competition, you're in those positions all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sports
is very dynamic. Sports is you don't know what position, but lifting and doing all that is very conscious, right? You know, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. For sports, you don't. It's reactive.
Great
right?
point. Yeah.
So getting into these positions consciously. So when you're in these positions subconsciously, your muscles, joints, tendons don't freak out. Put it. I mean, that's as simple as I could put it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many times people sprain their ankles in basketball? Do we ever put ourselves in those positions? No, like, okay, we want to strengthen our ankles. What do? Like, we do the ABCs, we put the bands on, that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to make it stronger. Okay, cool. Yes, that's part of the equation. And I don't mean to stand up right now, but this is just something to show you.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Like I do with my athletes every time, it kind of like calms your nervous system down, like an ankle sprain, right? I've sprained my ankle so many times, basketball, and I mean, this is Z health also as well, like an ankle tilt, right? So if I'm here, if you can look, twist your ankle and be safe in that position, okay? Now you're going up for a basketball. Your ankle's tilted and you're fine. You're not safe, you know? Be on it in one leg. Like, I have this position owned.
Right,
so I'm here, I'm on one leg, and my ankle's not broken. I'm fine, you know what I mean? If that makes a little bit of sense. And that's
100%.
That's just with the ankle, too. With the knee, too, you got to have all these different ranges of motion. Different mobility. And a lot of times when you have that and you have proper neural tone, the muscles aren't as tight and you don't get as much injury. Simply put.
Yeah, that's good, man. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Before we kind of wrap it up here, Ryan, something that I mentioned earlier, I kind of want to come back to, and this is kind of how I want to end things. Just we talked about, the exposure to other cultures, and you've been well traveled, and just the importance of being around different people and kind of getting outside of our comfort zones in terms of just maybe the people we grew up being around and stuff like that. So with all of your traveling experiences, like, what has that, and being around different types of people, different cultures, what has that kind of opened you up to? What has that taught you?
So much, man. Just, we think life is a certain way, and we think that life has to be this way. And for a lot of people around the world, it's not that way. So realizing that a lot of things that I understand, right? Like, you want things to matter, you give things importance, and it does matter to your life. I get it, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't. That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Just being a good person, right? Like, there's so many interactions where I don't speak the same language. I'm out in China, and people are just good people helping me out. Same thing with myself, right? Like, I'm just trying to be I don't speak their language, but like doing small little things, like helping people, that sort of thing, And you don't have to speak the same language, and just being a good person. There's so many good people around there. There's so many amazing people in this world. And a lot of these people don't have the same viewpoints as you. They don't have the same way of living as you do, but they are still amazing people. They still love. They still do all these other things, these emotions, these characteristics. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So just because people don't think the same or do the same stuff as you or same belief, like, there's still amazing people in this world, and there's still a lot of different ways to live this life.
Right.
And to be successful, to have a lot of happiness and have a lot of love and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. So I've noticed on your Instagram, you have a significant other, correct? Yeah. And what's her first name?
Alina.
Cool. And so everybody that's obviously not sitting in this room right now, and this isn't video, but you really smile, you lit up, right? So yeah. Because I mean, obviously going through your Instagram, I've seen some different pictures. I see, a few of your comments or whatever, with your significant other in there. What is that relationship? What does it mean to you? And like, what has she added to your life?
It's different, right? Like, having a relationship with somebody that's not American, like, yeah, it makes you question a lot of things and beliefs and why you think certain things and why you do certain things. So yeah, and I dig that, man. I dig it. I love how other people think differently from me, and I want to understand kind of why and this and that, and that's what I love, So having somebody like that and having that support system, especially when you're way out in China in a new place, kind of I mean, having that support system is huge. So, I mean, I definitely get a lot of support from her, which is awesome, especially being 10,000, whatever, however far away in Beijing, you know.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
So.
Okay. Awesome. And is she from China then, or is she from a different country?
She's from Russia, but she's
okay.
been living in Beijing for the last 2 years.
Oh,
so.
cool. Okay.
Yeah, met in Beijing and met her in an elevator actually.
Oh yeah.
So that was.
Did you give her an elevator pitch or what, dude? Huh?
Not an elevator pitch, but just started talking to her, said hi, and started hanging out, and she's an amazing person,
cool.
Great person.
Yeah.
Gives me a lot of support and has a lot of really cool dreams and passions and
beautiful.
Yeah, does a lot of great work. She's a teacher as well.
Oh, sweet!
Loves working with youth, so that's
awesome.
Amazing. That's awesome. Yeah.
Good deal. All right, Ryan. So, just kind of like to wrap things up. Is there anything? We had a really thorough conversation. Talked about a lot of different things with your story and just you professionally. You came up with some pretty awesome quotes as we were unpacking our conversation. But is there maybe just kind of like one message? Or maybe something that you would like to leave with myself and the listeners?
Yeah, kind of like we talked about, just there's so many different ways to living this life, you know, like don't think your way is right. Obviously, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do, right? But there's so many other ways to do it, and there's so much love out there in the world. People are great. People are awesome. I truly believe that, you know. I know we hear a lot of stuff that's like, hey, all this craziness is going on, but I believe people are great. I believe people are awesome, and they have a lot of love. So I just keep reminding myself that, and I guess if you guys want to as well, yeah.
Cool. That's right up your alley, Ryan. Just mellow, chill, and leaving it open. I love it, man. So if somebody that's listening to this, or people that are listening to this, are just kind of maybe resonating with your story, or resonated with something that you've said, or they're kind of fascinated with, you know, the strength and conditioning aspect of things within basketball or what have you. If people want to find you, if people want to reach out to you, if people want to kind of follow along your journey in terms of social media, where can people find you at, Ryan?
So yeah, social media, Gator Training, Instagram. I don't have a Twitter. I probably need one. But neurology, check out Z Health. I think it's Z Health Performance. Instagram, and then just Z Health Education, their website. YouTube, just go Z Health, the letter Z, and then Health. If you guys want to follow us on in China and what our team's doing, go to asiabasket.com. Beijing Royal Fighters are part of the CBA, which is the Chinese Basketball Association. See how we're doing this year and all that sort of stuff. So those are kind of the ways that you want to follow, you want to check out, ask me questions. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I just want to thank you, Ryan. This has been kind of actually a long time in coming. A former podcast guest introduced us, I believe, through Facebook Messenger, and that was, I think, maybe back in November or something. So this conversation has been a long time coming. We had it set up earlier in the week. We were scheduled for today, so I appreciate your flexibility. I appreciate you kind of in this, you know, season of uncertainty. I appreciate you taking the time just to share your story and to chop it up with me. So
always, man. Thank you for the time. Appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, rescheduling everything. It's always great talking to like-minded people that, you know, same passion as you. So that's awesome.
Cool. All right. So 127 Fit podcast listeners, once again, I just want to thank you for your listening ears. They're always greatly appreciated. If you'd like to find out more about the guests and myself personally that I'm bringing onto the podcast, you can find all of that information on Instagram. The Instagram is at 127fit. Facebook is at Quentin Vars. LinkedIn is at Quentin Vars. If you guys would do me a huge favor and please leave a 5-star rating and review, and also subscribe to the podcast, that would be cool. If you think you would be a great guest, or if you have a friend or an acquaintance you think would be a great guest or guests for the 127 Fit podcast, I would just ask that you would send me an email or give this email out. The email is 127fit@gmail.com, And if you guys are interested in personal training, if you guys are interested in just kind of taking your fitness to the next level, if you need to lose some weight maybe for a wedding, if you want to put on some muscle, what have you, whatever health and fitness goals you have, I would love to just have you guys send me an email. 127fit@gmail.com. Give me a little bit of information about yourself, and then we'll set up a free 30-minute phone consultation. We'll just kind of talk about what your goals are, what you want to do, and we will take it from there. I just want to be able to serve you guys. I want to be able to help you guys out in terms of your health and fitness, and find out how I can just kind of better you guys as you are just wanting to better yourselves and better your health. One more favor I would ask you guys, please, as you are finding great value in a specific episode or episodes of the 127 Fit podcast, take that specific episode or episodes that you're finding that value in and share it on your Facebook and Instagram stories using the hashtag #BeSomeoneToFollow. And then per the usual, I will leave you with Proverbs 24:10, which states, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. This time, until next time, I will catch you guys later.